Pennhurst Asylum. The name itself sends shivers down your spine. It is a place where hope went to die, a stark reminder of humanity's capacity for cruelty. Hidden away in the rolling hills of Pennsylvania, Pennhurst stands as a monument to suffering. It is a place where the echoes of screams still linger in the air, a haunting testament to the horrors that unfolded within its walls. The asylum, once a beacon of hope for those with mental disabilities, became their living nightmare. It was a place where the vulnerable were exploited, abused, and forgotten. The weight of their suffering seeps through the very walls, a palpable presence that chills you to your core. Today, Pennhurst is a shadow of its former self. The paint peels, the windows are boarded up, and the air is thick with the smell of decay. But even in its ruined state, Pennhurst exudes an undeniable sense of dread. It is as if the building itself is trying to forget the horrors that transpired within its walls. But we must not forget. We must remember Pennhurst and the thousands of souls who suffered within its walls. We must learn from the mistakes of the past so that such atrocities are never repeated. Pennhurst Asylum was not always a place of horror. In 1908, it opened its doors with the noble intention of providing care and treatment for individuals with intellectual disabilities. The institution, designed according to the latest medical understanding of the time, promised a haven for those who were ostracized and misunderstood. Families desperate for help entrusted their loved ones to the care of Pennhurst. They clung to the hope that this institution would offer their family members a better life. The early years were a time of optimism. New treatments were explored, and the staff, though small, was dedicated to providing compassionate care. However, this period of hope was not to last. As the years passed, the asylum became severely overcrowded. Resources dwindled, and the staff, overwhelmed and undertrained, struggled to cope with the growing number of residents. The asylum, once a symbol of progress, began its descent into chaos and despair. The promise of Pennhurst, once so bright, began to fade. The institution, designed to be a sanctuary, transformed into a prison, its walls echoing with the silent screams of the forgotten. The decline was slow, insidious, but ultimately it was inevitable. Behind the imposing facade of Pennhurst Asylum, a sinister reality unfolded. Overcrowding, coupled with a lack of resources and trained staff, created a breeding ground for abuse and neglect. The residents, once viewed as individuals deserving of care, became burdens, their humanity stripped away. Stories of physical, emotional, and even sexual abuse began to surface. Patients were subjected to experimental treatments, often without their consent. They were restrained for days, left to lie in their own filth, their cries for help ignored. The staff, ill-equipped and overwhelmed, often resorted to barbaric methods to control the residents. Solitary confinement, ice baths, and electroshock therapy were used liberally, not as treatments, but as punishments. The corridors of Pennhurst, once filled with the promise of healing, became conduits for suffering. The asylum, designed to be a place of refuge, transformed into a house of horrors. The cries of the abused, the stench of neglect, and the palpable sense of despair permeated every corner of the institution, a chilling testament to the depths of human depravity. The horrors of Pennhurst did not cease with the closure of the asylum. The suffering, it seemed, had seeped into the very fabric of the building, leaving behind an imprint of despair that lingers to this day. Many believe that the spirits of those who suffered and died within those walls still reside there, unable to find peace. Visitors and staff have reported strange occurrences, disembodied voices whispering in the darkness, cold spots that defy explanation, and the feeling of being watched by unseen eyes. Some claim to have seen shadowy figures lurking in the corridors, their eyes burning with a cold, ethereal light. One particularly unsettling tale speaks of a young boy named Billy, who died within the asylum's walls. Visitors claim to hear his laughter echoing through the empty halls, his toys mysteriously moving on their own. His presence, though unseen, is felt throughout the building, a constant reminder of the innocence lost within those walls. Whether these stories are true or merely the product of overactive imaginations is a matter of debate. However, there is an undeniable sense of unease that permeates Pennhurst, a feeling that something sinister lurks beneath the surface. the asylum stands as a chilling reminder that some wounds, even time, cannot heal. In recent years, Pennhurst Asylum has been resurrected from its grim past, not as a place of healing, but as a commercial haunted attraction. This decision has sparked considerable controversy, raising ethical questions about profiting from a place steeped in such profound suffering. Proponents argue that the haunted attraction serves as a form of remembrance, a way to keep the memory of Pennhurst alive and ensure that the atrocities committed within its walls are never forgotten. They claim that the revenue generated from the attraction helps to maintain the historical site and educate the public about the history of mental health treatment. However, critics argue that transforming Pennhurst into a spectacle trivializes the suffering of those who lived and died there. They argue that chasing thrills and chills within the very walls that once housed such unimaginable pain is disrespectful and exploitative. The commercialization of tragedy, they believe, is a step too far. The debate surrounding Pennhurst Asylum highlights the complex relationship between history, memory, and commercialization. It forces us to confront uncomfortable questions about our fascination with the macabre and the ethical implications of profiting from pain. Ultimately, it is a debate with no easy answers, leaving us grappling with the weight of the past and our responsibility to the future. Pennhurst Asylum stands as a chilling reminder of the fragility of human compassion and the devastating consequences of indifference. It is a stark testament to the fact that even with noble intentions, institutions can become breeding grounds for cruelty and abuse. The story of Pennhurst is not just a historical footnote, it is a cautionary tale that demands our attention. We must remember Pennhurst, not for the sake of morbid curiosity, but to learn from the mistakes of the past. We must acknowledge the systemic failures that allowed such a place to exist and work to ensure that such atrocities are never repeated. The lessons of Pennhurst extend far beyond the crumbling walls of the asylum. They serve as a stark reminder of our responsibility to protect the vulnerable, to treat all individuals with dignity and respect, and to speak out against injustice wherever we find it. Pennhurst stands as a testament to the resilience of the human spirit, but also to the capacity for cruelty that lies within us all. It is a place where the past and present collide, forcing us to confront uncomfortable truths about ourselves and our society. We must never forget the lessons learned within those haunted walls, for to forget is to risk repeating the mistakes of the past.